Glory be to the name of God. Today, let us reflect on Genesis chapters 8 to 11, looking at the events recorded in these chapters, along with the spiritual truths and divine revelations that guide our daily life. In Genesis 8, after the flood, God remembers Noah. The floodwaters begin to recede and the ark comes to rest on Mount Ararat. Eventually, Noah, his family, and the animals come out of the ark onto dry land. This remembrance is not just a memory, it is demonstration that God acts too. The water decreases, the ark settles, and a new beginning is marked. In our lives too, there may be situations that feel like a flood, dark and overwhelming experiences. But one truth we must never forget is this: God will never forget us. In His time, He will bring us out. Noah builds an altar to worship God. When God grants deliverance, with thanksgiving, praise, and worship must rise from us. Noah teaches us that worship should have the first place in our lives. In Genesis 9, God establishes a covenant that He will never again destroy the earth with a flood, and He gives the rainbow as a sign. Humanity is commanded to multiply, yet sin appears again within Noah's family. What does this teach us? Even after a new beginning, spiritual vigilance is necessary. Living in grace and continuing in holiness are both essential. We live under God's covenant of grace. We must remain watchful. A new beginning does not mean the end of temptation. Genesis 10 describes how the descendants of Noah's son, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, spread across the earth and formed different nations and peoples. This leads us to a great truth. Though humanity is scattered across the earth, all share one origin. God is not the Lord of one nation alone, but of all nations. Therefore, we must learn to see unity, not division. Every nation and culture is precious to God. In Genesis 11, people attempt to build the Tower of Babel to make a name for themselves. God confuses their language and scatters them across the earth. The chapter ends with genealogy leading to Abraham. Human beings try to make a name for themselves without depending on God. Human pride seeks its own glory, but God opposes it. Yet, even in judgment, God's plan of salvation continues. Even today, the spirit of Babel can be seen in us when we try to rise by our own abilities without God. But what is our true calling? Not to make a name for ourselves, but to live for the name of God. Finally, these 4 chapters reminds us of a simple yet powerful truth. God saves, man forgets, sin rises again, but God's plan never fails. Therefore, let us trust in God, walk in His ways, and dedicate our lives for the glory of His name. Amen.